Hey guys, welcome to the 8th video in my Python computer science paper 2 coding tutorials. So we're going to be talking about subprograms, that's functions, procedures, this sort of thing. They're a very important concept in actual programming as well as obviously in GCSEs. It's very good to know about them, they're very useful for various things. So to start off with, just make a new file, save it somewhere. So, first of all, what is a subprogram? So you've actually been using subprograms without knowing it. Anything you say like print with brackets, something, this is a subprogram. And the things you put in here, like you put some text in, this is called an argument. So effectively, subprograms are just like bits of code that exist somewhere, and you can run them and pass values in as arguments. So how you make your own subprograms is you say def, short for define, and the name of it can be anything like my subprogram, and then brackets, and then colon like you would with an if or something, and have it all indentated. So in here you can put in what are called parameters. So all this means is that when someone runs this piece of code, later they can pass things in. So this is kind of a little variable that's equal to whatever the user passed in. So if I run this by saying this, so this is the same as if I said print or something, except it's just the name of the one I made, and let's say I pass in a string, hello, and run it. You can see it's printed out, because what it's done is it's passed this in as an argument for the parameter. I've just called it parameter for now, but it can be called anything. And then in this subprogram, I've then told it to print out this parameter. So there's two main types of subprograms you have to know about once you understand what a subprogram is. There is a function and a procedure. So what I've written here is a procedure, but if something's a function, it returns a value. So what that means is in this subprogram, I say return, and then I can put something in here like I can return. So let's say actually let's change this quickly and have. So you can have multiple parameters and arguments going in. So let's say this program you pass in two numbers and it adds them together. So just pass in 5 and 6. So what we can do is we return, or we say result is equal to, that's not how I spell result. Result is equal to num1 plus num2, and then return result. And so what this means now is if we say like answer equals to this, and print that out, so you can see it's printed this out. So what actually has happened here is I've defined my subprogram. This is a function now because I returned something, where I have two parameters, num1 and num2. And I add them up and put them into a local variable called result, which I then return back. So here, I'm running the subprogram, passing in arguments 5 and 6, and then what this answer equals means is store the results, store the returned value, which in this case is results, in this variable. So you've actually seen this before, you've actually used this before. When you have, say, this input, this input function returns whatever the user's inputted, and therefore lets you say equals and put it into a variable. So that's the difference between a procedure and function. You often don't need to return anything. So if I just wanted to print result, I'm not returning anything. So this is just a procedure. So yeah, so just to reiterate, a procedure does not return anything. So if I say something equals this function when I'm running it, nothing will come back. But with a function, it does return something, which means you can pass a value back out of the function after you've run it, maybe done something to it, or whatever. And a parameter is these ones when you're defining the function, and an argument is the actual real values you pass it to. A parameter are just like kind of an imaginary storage for a value that will one point get passed in. But here, these 5 and 6 are the actual numbers you're putting in. So, what are functions and procedures useful for? Well, like I said, if you needed to do this lots of times throughout the program with different numbers, rather than, this isn't a very good example because you would just say plus that. But if you had this big, long, complicated bit of code that you're running lots of times, it's better to just do this than just copy and pasting it. And this is also better in some cases than a for loop if you're passing different values in every time or whatever, rather than just doing it in one continuous block repeatedly. So yeah, in actual programming, they're incredibly useful and you should use them a lot. They also make your code way more organized, right? So I've called this subprogram adder, right? So I've just changed the name here. I know vaguely what this piece of code does. So when I say blah blah blah, this is a form of abstraction, now I think about it, where effectively we've stored the bit of code that we know what does but don't really want to know how it does it. So yeah, it's a way of simplifying actual code, because if we had to copy and paste all this code everywhere, that would it'd make it harder to read, it'd make it harder to understand, and it would also make it longer. So yeah, so functions very important. To recap, def to start a function, put the name in, brackets, any parameters, this can be no parameters, this can be as many parameters as you want, colon, new line, and it should auto indent for you, but if not, just click tab, and then do whatever you want to it. If you want to pass a value back out, say return, but if you don't, just don't put anything. And then to run it, you've done it before, you just say the name without the def, just the name, and whatever arguments you put in. Obviously if there's no parameters, then no arguments. And if it's returning something, you say blah is equal to collect it, like you did with the input statements before. So that's basically all there is to say about functions. They're fairly simple to understand, but they're really important. You should definitely learn about them. Yeah, so thanks for watching. It can seem quite simple, but you need to know it. It's very important. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also look at the PDF in the description. Very valuable, very important. It covers everything I've just said, I think, as well as like all of Python. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.